Drown in despair. This is the power of Madara Uchiha. Divine power! Do you think any adult would fight a child seriously?
Madara Uchiha. Certainly one of the fan-favorite villains of the Naruto series. For me, Madara Uchiha has always been, well, disappointing to say the least. I think that Madara Uchiha is very entertaining and very fun to watch, but outside of popcorn fun, Madara falls in a few categories. Of course, that isn't to say that Madara isn't fun to watch. Madara is easily the most entertaining villain that the series has ever had. The introduction scene when he fights the 5 armies is one of the best scenes in the entirety of Naruto. Another tremendous thing that I have to commend every single time is the fact that they built up to Madara. We know about Madara Uchiha ever since part 1 when Naruto and Sasuke faced at the Final Valley. It seemed like the perfect villain to build to. However, I feel the way they introduce Madara and the way Madara is implemented into the story doesn't feel that way. Although he's been built up since the end of part 1, it feels like he's a last-minute addition by the time we get to him. So where exactly did Madara fall flat, and how would I have done Madara differently? I want to preface this by saying that I don't think I'm a better writer than Kishimoto. It's a lot easier to edit a story than write it from scratch. I'm currently writing stories of my own, and I'm sure that once it's published, you can argue that someone can pick up my pieces and write it better than me. It's just the way it is. It's easier to edit than to begin it. I also like the idea of Madara, him being this basically an ancient warlord, because that's what he is. He's ancient in comparison to everyone else. Being an ancient warlord can bring a lot of interesting things to the world. I feel like Madara doesn't interact enough with the world around him to see how different it's all become. At the end of the day, Madara is from a time where villages didn't even exist. Like, the great nations weren't a thing yet. They were a thing during his life, but he grew up in a time where they did not exist. He should be wildly different from everyone else. I guess the first thing we can talk about was the way he died was a little strange. The way he died just left a bad taste in my mouth. He loses to Hashirama only to be killed by Hashirama yet again in their rematch, but then he doesn't really die. He comes back because he used some kind of technique to keep himself alive, but later on in Shippuden in the war, this goes without saying, his death by Black Zetsu was definitely the pinnacle of bad writing in Naruto. And to be fair, this isn't really Madara Uchiha's fault. It's not the character's fault that he died in such an anticlimactic way. Not that I was very much into him at this point, unlike many. I acknowledge that I'm the minority in my feelings for Madara Uchiha. However, again, hopefully after I explain myself and explain some of the other things that could have been with Madara, you guys will see where I'm coming from. Another thing I want to get out the way is the Sharingan ability of his. I don't think it's all that important that we learn it. I don't think it really changes how good of a character he is, but it still would have been nice to know what his ability was. I know you'll have some dickhead on Twitter come out and say that he knows, or some guy on Reddit will say that he knows, but at the end of the day, the fact that there's a discussion on what his ability is says the problem. They don't really outright tell you what the Sharingan ability is, when these abilities are pretty important, and for one of the greatest Sharingan users, we should have probably known definitively what it was. I think the first thing to do with the Madara is not have him be a reanimation. Don't get me wrong, the reveal scene where we learn that Obito finds out that Kabuto has Madara is a pretty cool one. It surprises the audience, it surprises Obito. However, in practice, it basically had removed Madara from the forefront of the story forever. I think Madara should have, well, quite simply been Obito. I know that you lose on Obito being Obito and Kakashi's relationship with Obito if Obito is Madara, but I think both of the characters could have been one. My idea has always been this: either you have Obito or Madara, not both. I think having both made them detract from one another. By the time Madara had arrived in the story, I did not care because Obito was already around. But when Obito turned good, it felt like Obito didn't matter by that point. I did not want to see Obito turn good. I feel like Madara and Obito could have just been a singular villain. The reason why I think this is because the personal relationships with Madara are important to me. So the reason Madara is kind of just in the way for me is pretty simple. Obito had all the tools to be the main villain. Now, I know this video is kind of, the title of the video says rewriting Madara, but ultimately, this is if I had to include Madara. If it was up to me, Madara would never even be part of the story, and here's the reason. Obito was set up to be the perfect final boss. He killed Naruto's parents, was Kakashi's best friend, and killed Sasuke's people. Obito had a personal relationship with all three of the main cast members, and if you wanted him to have a relationship with Sakura, you could have had Obito face the 5 Kage and kill Tsunade, and Sakura would now have been involved with this version of Obito-Madara fusion. They would have had a relationship with everyone. The problem with Madara is that Madara does not really give a shit about anybody, and nobody really cares about him either. He just so happens to be the foil that our characters are dealing with. Realistically, Madara can be subbed out with just about anybody. He could be subbed out with somebody like Kakuzu. You know, if Kakuzu was like Madara level, you could have just subbed him for him and it'd make no difference. Or Hidan, or pretty much anybody that doesn't have a personal relationship with the main cast members. This is extremely disappointing because, again, we just had Obito right there, yet he turns good. I find it funny that Sasuke's entire crux in the entirety of the series is to get revenge for his people, and although he does grow out of that, thanks to the Itachi speech, the guy who killed his people, the guy that pretty much Sasuke's been after this whole time, is right there in Obito. Realistically, Itachi was never Sasuke's final boss. It's Obito, if you really think about it. Yet, this never goes anywhere. And I know that the story was written in a way where it doesn't, but I kind of wish that it wasn't written that way. I kind of wish that it still mattered to Sasuke in some way, so that Obito could have those relationships with everybody. Instead, not only does Obito miss out on that relationship with Sasuke, but he subbed out for Madara, who then throws away all relationships with everybody. There's this very interesting line that Madara makes, and it's the fact that he says he wishes that he could have like manipulated Sasuke instead of Obito, right? And to me, when I heard that line, I'm just like, why isn't this part of the story? It's another lost potential for Madara's character here. So Obito this entire time has been trying to groom Sasuke into what exactly? Why did Obito even care about having Sasuke be a part of the Akatsuki? Sasuke makes it clear as shit from the get-go that he doesn't really give a fuck about Obito. He's doing it for his own reason. And by the end, I just questioned why Obito even bothered. This brings me to my other point. The idea of Sasuke trying to be manipulated by another Uchiha. It really makes sense because Sasuke did everything for the Uchiha. The fact that he'd been manipulated by one or grow close to one makes a lot of sense, and if Obito and Madara were the same character, you could have had Madara try to turn Sasuke into his apprentice. The problem with how Shippuden handled it was, well, Madara doesn't get to interact with Sasuke at all. Madara just says it in passing, but ultimately Madara couldn't give a shit that Sasuke even exists. And then Obito, he just treats Sasuke more like a guinea pig or a random soldier, rather than potentially his successor. And again, I think this leads to Madara's goal. I think the ultimate problem with Madara's goal is that it's too nebulous. His goal is to create a perfect world of dreams where everyone gets to live out their own dreams. And that's not a bad idea on paper. I guess it's like everyone gets to be as happy as they possibly can, but it ultimately stands meaningless because Madara himself even acknowledges his relationship with Hashirama. He acknowledges his love for battle with another person. If he lives in this like dream world, he has no genuine relationships. He loses on those, which doesn't really make a lot of sense because Madara is extremely driven by his emotions, extremely driven by his relationships with others. That's why he wanted to do all this in the first place. Surely Madara would understand that it's not the same to have that genuinely than have it in like a dream world. This is like more of a mission for someone who doesn't understand emotions, almost like a robot. I'm gonna get into it randomly, but Ultron from the Avengers or from Marvel Comics, it kind of seems like more of a goal for him. It's like ultra logical. It's like he's like, here is the best way to make everyone happy. Like, you put something into me, basically like Google, how to make everyone happy, and Ultron's gonna look at it super logically, super like straightforward, and be like, okay, this is what makes people happy. What is the easiest way to make people happy? Infinite Tsukuyomi, because it's gonna automatically give everyone everything that they want without understanding nuances of that. I feel like that doesn't work for someone like Madara. Now, you're free to call this boring all you want, but I think this Obito Madara hybrid character's goal should be very simple: to replenish the Uchiha clan. I don't know if Itachi and Madara being ones to kill the Uchiha clan, or in this case, or in the original, Obito and Itachi, really add anything to anything. Like, what does Obito gain from killing the Uchiha? Obito pretty much only helps in killing the Uchiha because he wanted Itachi on the team and the Uchiha were dangerous. But like, it amounted to nothing because one, Itachi doesn't even do anything that useful for the Akatsuki. Like, realistically, think about it. Itachi caught some Biju, but when we see the Akatsuki fight the Biju, the only one we see him capture is Roshi, and Kisame is the one who beats him. So what does Itachi really do for the Akatsuki? Now, you could argue that Itachi is a good foil for the team, right? But yeah, like he would be a foil to the Akatsuki, so it's wise for Obito to have him on the team. But it's possible that Itachi was just gonna join the Akatsuki anyways to keep tabs on them. So it's like, what? And even if and then there's the Uchiha point. Like, yeah, let's say that it makes sense because the Uchiha can be dangerous in numbers. Against who? Like, which Uchiha? Shizui was dead by then. Fugaku? Like, yeah, he could be maybe the only, like, addition the village would have had. But, I mean, the Uchiha aren't stopping Obito or the Ten Tails or anything like that, so who gives a shit, right? Itachi would have been gone anyway. Itachi would have done the shit that he needed to do, and that was it. You're telling me Itachi couldn't perform the coup by himself? One other guy made that much of a difference? And if one other guy did make that much of a difference, then they don't seem that dangerous. And ultimately, even if you want to go with all of it making sense, I wouldn't even have gone that route narratively because it adds nothing. Obito killing the Uchiha clan adds nothing. The only thing it does is that it allows Obito to tell Sasuke the truth, but he could know the truth in a different way. He could go against what Itachi wants. You know what I mean? He could be like, oh, I don't want that. What I really want is to rebuild the clan. That'd be a lot more interesting because then Sasuke has some reason to join him. And in this case, if he's Madara, the Madara line where he says he wanted Sasuke as an apprentice, or it would have made sense, makes a lot more sense. Like, now Sasuke has an actual conflict of, okay, why shouldn't I join him? I think that'd just be a lot more interesting. Especially since Madara's obsession in the past was the betterment for the Uchiha clan. I know it sounds generic to some, but I think Madara's goal should have been that. Just saying. The Infinite Tsukuyomi can involve that in some kind of way. Maybe he'd put the rest to Dream World so that he doesn't have to kill anyone else. I think that'd be interesting. But that's just what I would have had Madara's goal be. I think as it stands, it doesn't make too much sense. Another thing I don't like about Madara is his contrived relationship with Nagato. It feels really weird when I rewatched the series and learned that Pain's Rinnegan is like a evolved form of the Sharingan, and Madara implanted the eyes in Nagato. It's so strange, even rewatching it. It feels like it doesn't add up. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't really like that they... first of all, I don't think the Rinnegan should have ever even been like a Sharingan offshoot. I think it should have been its own thing. And again, we might as well jump into it. Another issue I have with Madara is just his abilities. Like, I feel like I wish he was a little more unique. I know he pulls off the... I guess this should be more critique towards Sasuke. But I hate that Sasuke is just an offshoot of Madara or Itachi, right? Like, Itachi had a Madarasu, Sasuke's got it. Madara had perfect Susanoo, Sasuke got it. By the end of the series, Sasuke doesn't really have anything unique to himself. Like, Almighty Push, that's Pains. That's always going to be Pains. Like, what does Sasuke have that you say screams Sasuke? Chidori and Kiri. That's it. And those were old. You know what I mean? The only other one is in Boruto, the ability to switch places. That's, I guess, like Sasuke. That's his. But when you think Perfect Susanoo, you're probably going to think Madara. So I kind of wish they both had a little bit of some different abilities. Like Madara, when I think Perfect Susanoo, I think Madara. And then Madara has other shit, like the Light Fang, the Limbo clones. Like, he's a little too stacked. Or not that he's too stacked, but Sasuke, in turn, isn't as unique in his abilities. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, I know, I'm dogging him right now, but it is what it is. This is just how I feel. His reason for betraying Hashirama in the first place is so stupid. So, let me get this straight, okay? There's a war between the Uchiha and the Senju. Makes sense, okay? And Tobirama kills Izuna during that war. Perfect sense. And then Madara takes his eye. Great. Makes sense. He takes it so that he can become stronger and he can get his revenge, okay? So he faces Hashirama, they have this battle, and Hashirama claims victory. And Hashirama obviously says, this isn't the way to do it, we should bond. And Hashirama proves his word to Madara. His Madara basically says, okay, you want to prove that we're equal, kill your brother or kill yourself. I don't remember if he says kill yourself or kill your brother, but he says kill your brother. And Hashirama's like, I'm not going to kill my brother, but I will kill myself to, you know, basically, like, make even. So Hashirama does this, all lovely. He takes his life, or he doesn't take his life. He says that he's going to do it. It's all lovely. And Madara is so moved by the gesture that they decide to become buddies. And you'd think that'd be the end of it, but no. So later on, Hashirama's called the first Hokage. And for some reason, this gets this man so heated that he's ready for war. Why on earth did Madara think that he was going to be labeled the first Hokage? It was so dumb because Hashirama was the one who showed the gesture. Like, if anything, he was the inspiration and all that. He was the one that was in the right. And you'd think Madara would even, like, agree with this, considering he was moved by the gesture. You'd think he would be like, oh, Hashirama, yeah, that makes sense. But he leaves anyways, even though he would have likely just became the second Hokage anyways. Right? Like, he was definitely next in line, and considering the theory, which is that Hashirama died young, he was probably primed to be the second Hokage. But no. That never happened. So instead, not that it never happened, he didn't even let it happen, because then he turns bad and he comes back to destroy them. Despite the fact that his whole thing is that he was fighting for his people, but now he's going against his people and the village in general. Ultimately, he just comes across as whiny. That motivation is enough to make him the final boss of the series. And if you want to get into other things, I hate a lot of the stuff that this guy says. He, like, trash talks all the time, despite being an immortal zombie who steals other people's powers. Yeah, dude, of course you're broken. First of all, you can't die, or you stole Hashirama cells to regenerate, or you have the 10 tails, you have external factors, yet you love telling people that they suck. It's always just dumb to me. And then there's the whole wake up to reality line. Like, dude, isn't your whole goal to put people in dreams? Doesn't really make a lot of sense. But yeah, this is kind of just a critique. Overall, how would I rewrite Madara? Well, I would make Madara and Obito a singular being, and I would change his goal to being that of the betterment of the Uchiha clan, the rebuild of the Uchiha clan, while also trying to make Sasuke his successor. I think that'd be interesting. But yeah, that's gonna do it. If you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know. I'll put others out like this. Like, comment, subscribe, the usual stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. I had fun making this video, and I'm out. Bye.